Hey everyone, Nick Romick with RetroPixel Digital. Today's pro tip is going to be just kind of going over how to use game mechanics, so like a third person or any kind of controllable actor, like a vehicle. In this particular case, we're going to be using a vehicle, and just throwing that into Take Recorder so you can play around in Sequencer. So to get started, the first thing we want to do is go into the Edit plugins, and then we want to type in, I'm going to do Take Recorder. So we want to make sure Take Recorder is enabled. You're going to have to, when you check that box, it's going to say that you need to restart. I've already got it enabled here, so just for quick, easy access. I would also do Movie Render Queue. So just a breakdown of what this is going to be doing is I'm just going to be recording stuff. I'm going to throw it into a Take Recorder. I'm just going to add some cinematic looks and just to give you a quick idea of what you can do with it. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this player start just because we don't need it. We're going to need to find whatever blueprint you're using. So in this particular case, I'm just going to undo that real quick just to show you what I can do. So I've just created a brand new blank project and I've gone with the template for a vehicle. So that's pretty much all I've got here. So I can drive and I can play this game as if it were a game. And then so the rest we'll be doing here. It's going to be going in here and deleting that guy. So we need to start with whatever blueprint you're using. So in this particular case, it's going to be the vehicle blueprint. So I'm going to go in here to content and should be in vehicle template blueprints. And we've got sports car. So here's the pawn itself. We want to drag that into the scene because we're going to need that to add to our level. First thing you want to do with any pawn that you're going to be using, because we're going to be recording only this very specific instance of it. So rather than mess around with the world settings here and setting the game mode, we're just going to go ahead and go into the options of this guy. And in the pawn itself, you should be able to go down to the area that says pawn, which is here, pawn. So auto possess player, we're going to switch that to player 0. That's going to override any player starts or anything else that you have, or any world settings that you may have set for the game mode overrides, because we want only this very particular pawn to be recorded. So we'll go ahead. We're just ready to go to Take Recorder here. This is from something earlier. So in this section here, we're just going to click on source, and from actor with the one selected that we've just placed, we click add sports car pawn. Now it's going to bring us into our Take Recorder, and it's going to be recording all actions of that pawn. So we can press play. That's going to get us to be able to drive our vehicle around. Now, once we're in there, you want to just kind of click. You might have to hit Alt Tab to get out of this area and be able to click on things in your editor, but click on the record. Now you have a timer. Once you do that, now you're speeding, you're driving, you're doing your little thing, and you're crashing. So that's great. So now you've got this guy going. Next thing you could do is hit escape. Okay, so now that we've got that all recorded, we'll have a track here. So if you want to go to the content browser, and then we'll go back into content. So this is not all assets. We want to go to content. So yeah, in content, you're going to have a folder automatically created called cinematics, and in there you're going to have takes, and in there you're going to have the date and your scene. So if we open this up, we can see the animation in there, everything that we did. My terrible driving, I just ran into something. I didn't do anything that nobody else could do. So with that in mind, what we're going to want to do is we can use this as reference. There's some animation we can take out of that, but the best thing is, in this particular case, what I'm going to be doing is creating my own sequence. So from here, I'm going to back up to the cinematics here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to create an animation level sequence. I'm going to call this test sequence. You can name it whatever you want. Save all, just to be saving everything here. And I'm going to go into the sequence here. We want a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to create a camera. So go into cinematic and then cinecamera actor. And I'm just go here and I'm going to just pilot that bad boy. And so here we can see our vehicle. And I would actually probably just turn this on hidden in game. So go to details and type in hidden in game. There you go. So now you got two of them here. One of them's hidden because we don't want to see that. So once we're in this section here, we'll just click track, and then we'll just go with subsequences track. So click on that guy. You're not going to have a whole lot of options, but remember we did scene 102. That was the one that we created here. You can see in the path area it says game cinematics takes and the today's date. So we'll just select that. So now if you do this, you're going to see that guy driving. All right, so now that we can see this vehicle, we can play around with this particular camera. So I've got the camera here, and if we wanted to get fancy, I'm gonna hit G. G is actually gonna hide everything. So because we said hidden in game earlier, hitting G is actually gonna hide the original vehicle. So now we can see a clean version of what we're gonna be seeing. With cinematic cameras, it's nice to just go in there to the cinematic camera. So I didn't even name it anything, so it's going to be Cinecamera Actor. And that's this guy here. So we want to make sure here that in this area, in our sequence, we have something set for the camera. So we'll click and drag that guy into there. You're going to see the cut up here. And then we can play around with binding and setting keyframes on particular camera attributes at this point. So you'll see that in this area here. So just to get started, what I would recommend maybe is just going into the options here and choosing manual focus method. We'll turn this little guy on so we can see where we're at. And I'm just going to kind of just throw this right there and maybe get the angle I want. This is just kind of getting a little fancy here, but now we have the vehicle coming right into shot right there. I'm going to set a keyframe right here for the manual focus distance. I'm just going to click on this button here, and then we'll kind of go back to like right here, and we'll just go back there to here, and I'm going to set a keyframe there and turn this off. So now we've got kind of a rack focus following it. We might want to kind of mess with something in between, like right here. We'll probably want to go there just to keep it a little closer. Now it's not having a lot of an effect right now, but that's because I have myself, it's a 35 millimeter, so I'm going to put a 50 maybe, and that may change a couple things here as far as the distance and everything, but we've got that, and I'll put it in like that. And again, we're going to drop the aperture to like 1. Get a little bit more bokeh in the background. And yeah, right here, this is where we're going to want to modify that lens setting. So we'll just go here, like right there. Get a nice blur, and then we'll just kind of make sure we keyframe that, and we'll probably just delete that keyframe. So now we have something a little better, kind of flying through here like this. I'm not getting a clean one, so let's go back maybe to here. Let's kind of go there as well. Set a keyframe there. And we can mess around with maybe something like, let's go to, I'll just do lens flares, bokeh. Bloom is always something nice to have. Intensity by default is a little high, but we don't have a lot of lighting, so not a huge deal. Chromatic aberration, oh yes, I like this, maybe 0.5. That's a little high, but whatever, just for effect here. And then image effects, definitely image effects, what we're going to want to do is, I'll just add like 0.6. And depth of field, this can add a little bit extra to the background. And we got like maybe 20. Whatever, we can mess around with it. You can see the way you want to do it is cool. And then one other thing that I would recommend doing here is adding a motion blur. One might be a little heavy, but at least you can get something like this. So you're kind of getting a good idea of the fact that you can do that. You can add some more cameras. I would add a camera probably in the beginning, like maybe around the tire maybe a back 3/4 view. For action shots like this, especially, you got a lot of motion blur, you got a lot of crazy stuff going on in that scene. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a little bit of camera shake. You're going to want a lot of quick cuts and stuff like that. But this gives you the idea, that you can do this and you can get something fun from recording that. So once you have that kind of stuff, you can literally just take this, just save that guy, and then go in and take your test sequence and you can add it to the render queue. So obviously there'd probably be a lot of more messing around with and everything that you can do with this. But if you go into the content browser, or sorry, you want to go into cinematics and then movie render queue, because we enabled that earlier. I'm just going to add the test sequence in there and play around with some of your settings. There's some really good options, like you can save yourself a preset. William Fauché has a lot of really cool stuff that you can take a look at, and as far as the settings to put in there for the console variables and everything like that, that's all online as well. Take a look at that stuff, so you can add it in there and you can render these shots out. But that's a really good way to get whatever actions you are doing. You can use the third person template. You can do a lot of other things. You can literally play a video game template that you have, like a third person shooter, anything like that. You can record those actions and you can actually use that now. If I get out of this thing here, you can add and you can watch all of your terrible, I don't know if yours is going to be terrible, but as far as this, you can watch all of your actions in real time. And rather than have to hand animate, you can use, the physics that are in the game. So that concludes this fairly not so quick tutorial here. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free. There's a YouTube comments section for a reason. Put that in there. Like the video if you like it. If you don't like it, well, I guess you could dislike it. It's up to you. You're your own person. But yeah, subscribe. Follow some more tips and tricks. They'll be coming at you a little bit more regularly. And hopefully this helps you guys out with anything that you're wanting to do with cinematics. If there's anything that you would like us to do, throw a comment in there and maybe we'll make a video or a tutorial on whatever you want. All right. Well, you guys have a great Monday.